Hello and welcome back to a very chilly episode of Automotive Tales. We are in the Bentley Turbo R and today's job is to replace the radio. So I'm going to do a little how-to video on how to remove a radio from the Bentley, things you might need to know, and show you fitting as a lovely modern Blaupunkt radio that is nice and subtle. And I'll show you what we're replacing and why we're replacing it. So my Bentley has an aftermarket Kenwood radio. This is a fancy radio where the screen comes out of the dashboard. And it has touchscreen controls as well as lots of very tiny buttons, and it also has this very early 2000s removable fascia for security reasons. However, the Bentley has this delightful dashboard, as you'll be aware, and it has a cover that hides away the nastiness of modernity behind this lovely little wooden panel. But the radio that was fitted to this car many years ago, while state-of-the-art at the time, doesn't allow this panel to close, so you end up with this exposed at all times, which sort of spoils the aesthetic. So today's job is to remove this radio, and we're going to fit a new Blaupunkt radio. So this is a fairly entry-level Blaupunkt, the Valencia, but the important thing is it's a DAB radio and it has Bluetooth connectivity, because the thing I want the most is I want access to all of my music, and I don't want wires, I don't want any sort of connections, and I don't really want a glove box or a center console full of CD changer. Presumably fairly common in this era of Bentley is a CD changer is fitted in the center console, which makes the center console effectively useless, or they're fitted behind the fuel tank underneath the parcel shelf at the back, accessible from the boot. So first thing to remove from the old radio is this little fascia that just sort of clips in. It can be a little fiddly to get out, but if you've got the radio key set from Laser, there are a couple of radio keys that have little hooks, so you can pop this out. Once this has been removed, it's time to find the correct keys, which generally go down the sides of the radio here, which will release the pins and should allow this to come out. And then we'll see what we've got going on in the back. Hopefully this has been done properly rather than by slicing into the Bentley's wiring loom. So here's hoping. Okay, so this appears to be the correct tool, albeit it's already slightly bent, for the Kenwood. So it goes in down the sides, inwards like that, and it releases a clip, which, as you can see, the radio has started moving forward, but now I can't get the tool back out, and the tool is stopping the radio from coming forward, which is bloody typical. We spent like 5-10 minutes trying to find the correct tool and the correct procedure, and now we finally released it. The tool is the thing that is stopping us from getting the flipping radio out. This is always the fun with radios. There are myriad different tools for different radios, and it's never clear exactly which one unless you've got the original manual and the original tools. So it's a bit of a trial and error job. So we've managed to get it loose. We just now need to figure out how to pull this thing back out again. So useful little trick when you're pulling this radio out. So you can see we have it released, and if yours has the little ashtray underneath here, this makes a perfect little ledge as you're pulling it out to stop it moving all over the place. So place a nice bit of cloth over that to protect it, and we should be able to pull the radio out and lean it down onto there. Now we can work our way through disconnecting the snake's wedding that is inevitably waiting for us back here. So for the purpose of this video, we are going to ignore this massive snake's wedding of wiring that disappears off behind the dashboard to the additional modules for the radio that's coming out, because in theory, as long as we've got the ISO connector, which is the car side of this loom, which I now can't get my hands on, then we should be good to go. So for now, I'm going to tuck the remains of this, which is now all disconnected. There's no power running through this, and it's all data anyway. Pop this back where it was living before, behind the dashboard, for a later date where I will remove the CD changer and find where those boxes are hidden. But let's see whether we can get the new radio in. While digging around the car as well, I also found something I'd forgotten this thing had, is it also has a remote control. So the first thing we're going to do before we fit the cage or any of the other bits and pieces is just plug in the ISO connector, which on most radios is an absolutely standard piece of kit. It might well be, I think some of the Alpines have a different connector that is proprietary, but they usually come in the box with an adapter that goes from the proprietary to the ISO. So I need to go and turn the power back on, which I had temporarily turned off, and see whether the radio at first works with the rest of that stuff tucked out of the way. So, whenever working on any of the wiring on the Bentley, the first thing to do is to knock the power off. Luckily, the Bentleys and Rolls-Royce have this nice little switch in the boot, so you can flick it left, turn the power off, flick it right, turn the power back on. So I'm a bit over illuminated now, but the power is back on, as you can see with the lights, and we've got the radio plugged in. So let's see whether we've got any life. Oh, I can hear the aerial going up in the back as well. Result, it's live, it works. So I now need to get off the camera, connect my phone to this, and see whether we can listen to any music. Sounds all right, that. That'll do. Let's get this fitted properly. So we have powered it on. We've proved it works. It sounds good. However, I have noticed we are not set on accessories, and so we're going to do a little trial. I'm just going to go and turn the power off to the car because I think I might have found the source of another problem we have with the car. So even with the battery isolated, the Bentley seems to be killing its battery. Now, I thought maybe it was a Duff battery. At some point in the past, we have put a new battery on it and it still does it. So I am just going to kill the power, which means the lights are going to go off, and we're going to see if the music goes off. So you saw the lights go off in the door. You can probably hear there's some music in the background. I have to be careful not to get some sort of rights issue with the music playing. But I've killed the battery of the car, which has turned everything off except the radio, which means at some point somebody has hardwired the radio feed to the battery. Now, the radio should come on and off with the ignition, which means there's an ignition live and a permanent live that you can alternate over because every radio uses a different combination of those two. So that it goes on and off with the ignition rather than staying on all the time. If you get it the wrong way around, your radio will come on, but when you turn the car off, it will cut all of the permanent live to the radio and you lose all your settings. So if that's happening, that's the problem, is your permanent live and your switched live from the ignition is the wrong way around. And generally the loom tends to have a set of bullet connectors that allows you to swap the two around. They're usually a red and a yellow, I think, on the wiring loom. So we've discovered an interesting issue that clearly it's drawing straight from the battery, even with the ignition on, the power turned off. So now we're going to go and figure out what I'm going to do about that. I don't really want to start pulling out that massive snake's wedding worth of the old Kenwood system. That's probably a job for a professional because all of the centre console has to come out. And on these later Bentleys, it's not as easy as the earlier Rolls-Royce we had before, where you can see all the screws that are exposed and you can unscrew it all. Lots of clips and bits that will probably break. So I might leave that to the Bentley specialist because otherwise it'll just never go back just right if you're not familiar with it. But we have a radio that works. So let's get that radio into the dashboard so that we can actually use it. So with the power on and the ignition live and the permanent live set the right way, what you will see is the radio is off. And then when I move the key to either run or ignition, accessory, I'm going to use accessory in this instance. You see power comes on. The annoying parrot thing that I haven't yet figured out how to get rid of come on, and we have to get rid of the audio so we don't get a digital rights issue with the video, but that has brought the radio on, and I'm now going to click this back to off, and you will see that that will then say goodbye. So it's still got power, but that power in this case is permanent live from the battery. It should be a permanent live from the vehicle side of the battery isolator, not directly from the battery, to stop the battery running flat in long periods of layup. So that's a problem for another day, but we're now going to put this radio back into the dashboard. So first thing we're going to have to do is disconnect it. So this needs a cage, which is sitting down here. The cage is going first, feed the wiring through the middle of the cage, plug it back in, and the whole lot should slot in. While the not fitted radio makes a useful little shelf, I can actually explain how this works if you've never fitted one of these aftermarket radios before. You'll see there's lots of little tabs here in various different places. And effectively what you do is you'll slide this into the hole the radio is currently sat in. And once that is located right the way back where it needs to be, so this will be basically flush with the dashboard and will end up orientation wise about there, so just behind the fascia of the radio. So that's where it'll end up. Then you then push all of these tabs out, or as many as you need to secure that, stop that from moving. And once that is secure, you can pull the wiring through the middle. Then you take this little radio here and you will slide it through the middle of the frame. So time to get this out of the way, put this back in and show how it all goes together. So if you're at all interested, you see the red and the yellow, the thick of the red and yellow cable going into the bit of that connector by Mr. Greg's thumb. Those are the ignition and switch live. If you've got the problem where the radio is staying on and then when you turn the ignition off, you're losing all your settings, then those two are the wrong way around. The orange cable there, that I think goes off to actuate the aerial, which on this car is one that hides away. And then the other half of the connector by Greg's index finger, that's all the green, white, grey and another colour. They're all the cables for the speakers that go around the car. And you can see we've sort of tucked the rest of the dead loom for the radio in there. You can actually see it though on the female end of the ISO connector in there with a yellow wire coming out of it, has a bullet connector. That's because the radio side of this connector has got that option for swapping around the red and the yellow wires for fixing your permanent and ignition live. So quite often you're left with that option in that bit of the wiring loom. The bit that Greg's holding is the actual harness that's in the car itself. That bit would normally be removed, but because the radio that's coming out is so complicated and has all these extra modules, that's going to have to be buried in there for now until we can get the center console out. So the beauty of replacing this with a cheap, simple little Blaupunkt Bluetooth radio is this doesn't have a CD player. One, it weighs very little, which is quite nice. Not that weight is really an issue in a car that weighs 2.9 tons. But the important thing is you'll notice it's quite short as a radio, so just the end of my thumb there. The original radio is about 50% bigger, if not 100% bigger, and goes much further into the dashboard. Now, that isn't normally an issue. The dashboard is designed to take a full depth ISO radio, but... DIN radio, but the fact this is shorter means all those excess cables we haven't had a chance to unwire from behind the dashboard will all tuck in behind the radio, so we're not going to struggle to fit this in. Sometimes when you've got a snake's wedding's worth of wiring back there, you struggle to actually get the radio back into the dashboard because there's nowhere to push the cables out of the way, and you can't control where they go because they're behind the radio as you're pushing it in. But that isn't going to be a problem for us. These modern radios are really quite tiny. And actually, all of my music is on my phone, so I have no qualms with the fact it doesn't have a CD player. And before you at me in the comments, although you're welcome to do so because it's good for the algorithm, this doesn't have a CD player. This is a blanking slot. I presume the fascia design is common across those that do have a CD player. But I do not wish to have one anymore. I have a lovely CD player at home, but I don't need one in the car. Right, you can see the frame is in and fitted. I haven't yet pushed out any of the tabs, but you can see how it sits nicely back in the dashboard against, there's like a little backstop that won't let it go any further, so that is securely in place. So now I'm just going to push some of these tabs out with a little screwdriver so that that won't then slide back out as it currently does. You can see it's loosey-goosey. So stop it being loosey-goosey, and then we're going to slot the new radio in. And it literally is that easy. So a couple of things to note before you push your radio back into the dashboard. You will have a connector like this, most likely. So this goes off to the aerial. As it happens, this was actually pushed into an extension that then goes off to the myriad of control boxes that are hiding away behind the dashboard here somewhere. We've managed to find it and unearth it. So that will go into the back of the radio, which, let's grab this. You will see it has a number of connections. So this one at the bottom here, that is the connection for the standard AM FM radio. The red and white connectors there are outputs to go to an amplifier or an amplifier. If you have one, we do not in this case, we're going to use the built-in amplifier. And this little brass connection here is actually for a DAB aerial. Now we have got one with this radio, and you are supposed to put the DAB aerial up into the window for best signal. In fact, there's the little DAB aerial. We're probably not in this instance. We're going to sling it behind the dashboard. I don't use DAB very often, and I can't bother to pull even more trim out to fit this. And then you've just got the standard connector here, which is your ISO connector we're about to plug in. And sometimes you can blow a fuse in a radio. So if you blow a fuse, that's where it lives. It's in the back, just next to the ISO connector. And I think that's fairly standard on all radios. Certainly every radio I've ever removed or refitted has had one of those. One last thing to point out as well, you will notice a screw hole in the middle of this cooling fin here. Now, if you've got a deeper radio, I don't know if you can do it in this one because it's so shallow, but there's actually a little plug you can screw into there, which allows it to locate at the back of the dashboard, which stops the radio flopping around like this. There tends to be a little a circular hole that you can then push into, but we don't need that for this because, well, the radio doesn't weigh anything and it's super short, so there's no leverage that's going to cause it to move. It's just going to be clipped into its little frame and should stay in place just fine. So we're going to push that aerial in. We're going to wire in the DAB aerial by just screwing it onto this little ferrule, and then push it all back in the dashboard and see if we can get it to fit. Okay, here's the moment of truth. Hopefully we've got all the cables out of the way, and this should just now slot back in. It sounds like one side's clicked. Sounds like the other side is clicked. Just like that. Interesting, on this on this Blaupunkt Bluetooth radio, there is these two little slots here, which I think when you want to remove it, you pop those out and the removal tools go in there, so it gives you a nice little guide as to where they go. So there's no surround for it either, so you don't have to remove one of these little things before you can get access to the radio. I hate these because they've got tiny little clips that always fall apart. So it's a much neater solution. And now I can just go like that. Bye-bye radio. It looks so much better. And it works, thank goodness. So I actually have taken the decision not to fit the DAB aerial because I hadn't realised it actually has this quite large bit you can just stick to a window ideally, or stick somewhere out of the way. It doesn't want to be damaged or bent, so it doesn't really suit to sort of being stuck behind the dashboard like an AM/FM radio does. So I'm going to keep this separate and just rely on AM/FM. And to be honest, I'm only ever going to really listen to music from my phone. And we can start to see all the detritus that's come out of the car. So there's the phase shift of the radio, its little box, the little remote. That bit has the insert from the CD changer, which I had to get out to get all my, in fact, I think I've still got CDs in there. And then this is the old radio that came out, which is a beast of a thing. But you can see this doesn't have an ISO connector. It has these proprietary cables that go off to those control boxes. And you can see the cage. So for this Kenwood unit, it looks like there's a little catch just here is what you have to release to get the radio out. So that obviously locks in just here. So when you push the tool in, it goes between the radio and the cage, goes all the way down here, and it will lift that catch up, which then releases the radio and allows you to pull it out. So that is the old Kenwood monster out of the car. Well, part of it out of the car. At some point we'll get the rest of it out. But yeah, we now have Bluetooth music in the Bentley, which is great. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.